Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Firefighters have the upper hand over a bushfire near Snug that's been burning for almost a week. But forecast thunderstorms and high temperatures mean we're not out of the woods yet. The state is sweltering through some of its hottest days in years as a lingering heatwave rolls on.
Faced with a summer scorcher, it was human versus the heat across much of the state.
Really hot.
Oh, I struggle with it.
In southern Tasmania, beaches were the place to be, Bell Reef and Sandy Bay heaving on the sand and in the surf, with beachgoers trying to shake off the heat any way they could.
Drinking water.
Yeah, staying in the water.
And get a frozen coat.
Some braved the baking sun while others got cooking. It was even hotter around the frays at takeaway shops.
The extra degrees outside adds on a fair bit.
A day of searing heat. Scott's Peak the hottest with 36.8 degrees. Strawn hitting 36.3 degrees, also extreme in Ouse and Bushy Park, pushing 36, and around the 33-degree mark at Hobart and Launceston airports.
We'll see temperatures above 30 across inland Tasmania most summers, but to have 3 days in a row with temperatures above 33 degrees is quite rare.
The heat wave keeping firefighters battling the Snug blaze on high alert.
There is potential for that fire still to put its head up again.
And with thunderstorms forecast for tomorrow, there's concern it could spark flare-ups.
Parts of inland Tasmania may see some high fire danger. Across the southeast and around the sort of Snug Tiers fire ground,
We'll be running spotter flights to make sure we're on top of any new starts.
While the heat will ease once the sun goes down, there's not much relief in sight. Temperatures in Hobart are expected to hover around the mid-20s overnight before jumping back into the 30s tomorrow. By tomorrow evening, much of the state should feel some reprieve.
we're expecting the cold front to reach Hobart at around midday tomorrow, and then moving up the east up towards Launceston in the northeast by tomorrow evening.
Rebecca Gaydon-Neris, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanian harness trainer Ben Yole is back in court over an insurance-related charge, changing his plea to guilty. He was accused of failing to maintain a policy of insurance with a licensed insurer, which is required under the Workers' Compensation Act, initially pleading not guilty last year. Yole will return for sentencing next week. Tasmania's newest Supreme Court judge has officially been sworn in. Ms Kate Cuthbertson replaces former Judge Gregory Geeson, who resigned last year. She's one of 6 other judges at the Supreme Court and joins newly appointed Chief Justice, Mr Chris Shanahan. Governor Barbara Baker and Attorney General Guy Barnett oversaw the ceremony at Government House. Tasmania's major political parties have declared less than 10% of the donations they received in 2023 and 2024. It's landed them in hot water with other politicians who say they should be more transparent. But the Liberals and Labor insist they're following the rules.
From television and social media ads to billboards and call flutes, political donations are put towards campaigns for parties and candidates, but the millions the Liberals and Labor receive, and from whom, is mostly unknown in Tasmania.
In practical terms, it looks like they've given 2 fingers to the Australian public.
New Electoral Commission data from 2023 to 2024 showing the Liberals received more than $3.3 million from donors, while Labor accepted more than $2.2 million, but both have disclosed less than 10% of their total donations. Political experts saying donations going unchecked leaves the door open for corruption.
We only have to look across the Pacific to America to see how much influence money is buying.
But both parties say they're just following the laws.
We'll disclose what the law says we need to disclose.
Day in, day out, Tasmanian Labor follow the rules and we donate and disclose whatever is required.
The Greens handed roughly $660,000, disclosing around half, posting donations of more than $1,000 on their website, pushing for the disclosure limit to be lowered from more than $16,000 to $1,000.
The whole system right now is cooked, and we are calling on the Liberal and Labor parties to just do the right thing.
Urging the other parties to follow their lead until a decision is made on their bill in the upper house.
We should absolutely be strengthening the political donations rules in this state with the bill that's coming through the Parliament.
A move observers say will help keep trust in the state's political system among Tasmanians.
We need them to have faith in the electoral system and that what their vote counts the same as anybody else's vote.
Anthony Dodd, 7 Tasmania News.
The Premier says negotiations on leasing the new Spirit of Tasmania 4 ferry in Scotland should be kept confidential due to commercial sensitivities. It comes after the opposition called on the government to provide Tasmanians with more information about how the process is progressing.
Are Labor serious? We're in the midst of negotiations now, so it wouldn't be sensible to make all that open and public.
Jeremy Rockcliffe says the final decision on whether to lease the vessel will be made by Cabinet in due course. Well, Murph is back out on the road, taking in what you can see locally as part of Tourism Tasmania's Longer Days offering. Murph, you certainly have the dream job, don't you now? Where are you in Tassie joining us from this week?
Well, thank you very much, Kim. Yes, the Great Eastern Drive today in Bicheno at the Farm Shed East Coast Wine Centre. It's called the East Coast Wine Centre because all 24 vineyards here on the East Coast are featured here at the Farm Shed. You know, we've got things like the Freycinet, we've got Gala, we've got Springvale, we've got Milton. They're all here, and everything at the Farm Shed, be it wine, food or whiskey or gin, is all Tasmanian, including Luke. How long have you been a Tasmanian, Luke?
Yeah, g'day Murph. I've been a Tasmanian all 27 years.
Well, you know all about Tasmania and what you can offer here. Tell us a bit about your offering with all the wines and how you deal with the producers.
Yeah, so we deal direct with viticulturalists and winemakers, featuring over 24 East Coast growers. As you say, more than half are without a cellar door and only make quite small quantities of wine, so good to be able to showcase everybody.
Okay, we're in the heart of the East Coast because we've got Scamander and St Helens to the north, Bay of Fires to the south, Swansea and also Triabunna. You're right amongst the middle of it all.
Absolutely, yeah. So a good spot, Bicheno, only 2 hours from Launceston and from Hobart. Lots of other local attractions, including Red Bill Beach, the Douglas Apsley National Park, Freycinet National Park nearby, the Blowhole, Lobster Shack. So lots to see and do.
Yeah, and of course it's not just wine and a snacky food lineup. We've also got the whiskey and gin. And I don't want to mispronounce this, but you've got your own craft brewery here. I'm saying it's called the Bish, is that right?
Yeah, well that's how it's known among the locals. Yeah, colloquial term for Bicheno Brewing, which is our microbrewery in the Farm Shed building.
And we've got it all here. You've got the wonderful dispensary that you've got the wines and also the beer. And you know what I think of craft beer, don't you, Kim? I'm going to wait and try some very shortly, but I couldn't help myself, I already have. So I'll be back with the weather of sorts very shortly.
Oh, you're a worry. Thank you, Murph. The government's recent track record on renewable energy has come under fire, failing to meet its own targets in one of its strategies. 4 key projects, including hydrogen production and finalising a renewable energy zone, weren't met as part of the Liberals' 2022 to 2024 renewable energy framework. Labor says Tasmania is missing out on opportunities as a result.
Are hurting our economy. It's stopping us bringing in new investment, new jobs and opportunities for Tasmanians.
But the Premier insists there's plenty of development underway in clean energy.
We've built on hydro industrialisation. We've got wind farms in the process, such as Whaleback Ridge.
Jeremy Rockcliffe says the government is continuing to work towards its goal of 200% renewable energy capacity by 2040. 6 more social housing units are now ready for tenants in Burnie. It took just 3 months to finish the 1 and 2 bedroom homes thanks to modular construction. The units, assembled in a Hobart factory and brought up on trucks, cut build times in half.
If we're serious about building more houses faster and cheaper, we must be innovative in those solutions.
These are a really efficient way to construct. They're far more cost effective than the traditional on-site build, and they boast an extremely quick construction time.
The government hopes modern building techniques will help it hit the target of 10,000 new affordable homes by 2032. The phrase "one person's trash is another's treasure" has been proven true, with a Hobart hotel donating its old furniture to a homeless shelter. The facility specifically designed to support women escaping the most violent and unsafe of situations.
A donation worth $500,000, supporting women at their most vulnerable.
So we have over 2,000 pieces of furniture. We have beds, we have couches, we have TVs.
Crockery, cutlery, white goods. It's really a full one-bedroom apartment.
The owners of Somerset on the pier in Hobart in the midst of a major refurbishment. This furniture transported to fill rooms at Amelie, formerly Bethlehem House on Warwick Street. The goods otherwise headed for landfill.
We see huge problems across our cities, especially in Hobart, of people sleeping rough.
The 43-room transitional facility will house women needing to escape domestic or unsafe living situations. But supply just isn't meeting demand.
A drop in the ocean. It's one of those things that it's a pity that there is a need, but we just do every little bit we can, new project after new project after new project.
With growing calls for additional housing and support services to be funded accordingly.
And whilst the state government does a lot, probably not quite enough, but does a lot, we still need the private sector to be involved.
And we understand there's more to be done, and we continue to do what we can to support housing needs.
To save as many women from sleeping on our streets as possible. Ruby Cairns, 7 Tasmania News.
The opposition is renewing its criticism of the government's spend on digital traffic signs. The roadside boards display estimated journey times on several highways across Hobart, costing $22 million. Labor says it's redundant technology.
I think these signs will be potentially obsolete, especially when we can look up the information on our smartphone or in some cases in our cars before we make the journey.
The government says it's part of the work it's doing to improve the state's road network. Well, Hobart has turned the first sod on a major revamp of one of its most used sporting precincts. It means more and better facilities for netball and bowls players, who say the upgrades are well overdue.
Netball continues to be the leading sport for women and girls. Yet the Southern Tasmania Netball Association, who run the largest competition in the state, doesn't have a home base.
We know that there has been demand for extra teams, particularly in juniors and particularly in women over the age of 30. And we've had to be really careful in actually providing those opportunities because we just literally don't have the court space.
Stage 1 of upgrades to the Newtown Sporting Precinct will see 2 new netball courts built on this overgrown bowling green, as well as shade infrastructure for the Buckingham Bowls Club. It says older players are currently forced to weather all conditions.
And you have teams from other divisions that are equally aged, and they really need shelter from all weather.
But this is just stage 1. The full master plan, including an indoor netball stadium worth $60,000, continues to chase funding from all governments before shovels can hit the dirt.
300 to 400,000 individuals come through this particular precinct and utilise all of the spaces, the facilities, and of course are taking part in that community spirit of being involved in a sport.
That master planning is something that we'll continue to have conversations with the stakeholders and the Netball Association over, but it is something that we're really happy to support.
Enabling more grassroots sports to continue shooting goals. Ruby Cairns, 7 Tasmania News.
In just her second match in 2 years, an unbeaten 80 runs from Tigers opener Rachel Treneman helped make their run chase against ACT seem like a walk in the park, chasing down the 154 target to win by 8 wickets with 20 overs to spare. The glitz of winning the Hurricanes' inaugural Big Bash trophy is a distant memory for championship hero Mitch Owen, only surviving 5 balls as opener for his new team Pile Royals in South Africa's SA20 over the weekend. He was stronger with the ball, taking 2 wickets from his 3 overs. The Royals losing that match by 48 runs. They play a qualification final on Wednesday. And that's Tonight in Sport, Kim.
OK, thanks, Nick. Well, Peter Murphy will join us after the break with a weather forecast.
And our crazy, lazy, hazy days of summer sideshow has taken us to Bicheno today on the east coast of Tasmania. Bicheno declared a town back in 1866, but was a safe haven for seafarers and whalers as early as 1803, so plenty of history in this region. And Bicheno today created history by being named in Booking.com's most welcoming towns in Australia. Number 7, I think, in the top 10. So great stuff for Bicheno. We're lucky we're here, and we were too, because it was 24 degrees today in Bicheno. Let's see what it was like around the rest of the state. Hobart warmed up today to a top of 32 degrees. Launceston 31, Devonport and Burnie reached 25. Grove and Strawn a top of 36 today. Bushy Park 34, King Island 33, Flinders Island and Friendly Beaches 28 degrees, Lyawini 26, St Helens 24 and Lowhead 23. We did have a thin layer of smoke evident around the state today as high cloud drifted over Tasmania. Cloud with late thunderstorms also pushed over the northwest. More thunderstorms occurred over South Australia, Western New South Wales and Victoria. A lot of the mainland is cloud-free. Tomorrow the high remains to our east as a cold front gets set to pass us as well. The winds will tend to be more northwest to southwesterly tomorrow and up to 35 knots, particularly over the east and west. A strong wind warning from Sandy Cape to Stanley and from Flinders Island to South East Cape. Yes, we're in a working brewery, folks. Let's have a look at the forecast. Hobart a shower and 27 tomorrow. A windy day for Adventure Bay and 28 in Tarraleah. Maybe a late shower in Launceston, 33 before that. Devonport and Bridport fine and mid to high 20s. Partly cloudy and 28 in Burnie. Strawn 25 and Marrawar 24. A warm day here in the east tomorrow, plus 30 temperatures and a possible storm for Swansea. On Wednesday, a fine day with just the chance of a shower over the northern ranges. A fine day with light winds on Thursday until a shower develops over the north in the evening. And on Friday, isolated showers moving through, more frequent over the north-east of the state. Now further north, warm and sunny in Perth and Adelaide tomorrow. A hot start in Melbourne ahead of a cool change there. Everywhere seems to be over 30 degrees tomorrow. Sunny in Sydney, but a shower forecast for Brisbane. And current conditions here in Bicheno, well, yes, it's still nice and warm and it's 23 degrees. So during the longer days of summer that we have with us at the moment, come up or come down to Bicheno. You'll certainly find something wonderful to do. They, of course, Kim, are very famous for the Food and Wine Festival at the beginning of summer. And coming up pretty soon, it's going to be the Rockpool Music Festival at the end of summer. And that's the end of my summary. I look forward to an easier night in the studio with you tomorrow.
Okay, thanks, Murph. Well, that is all your news for now. I'll be back later with updates. Thanks for joining us tonight. Good night.